showtime. Dynamite Download.
Welcome to Dynamite Download, your source for positive coverage of all elite wrestling.
This is what pro wrestling should feel like.
Oh, you guys, positive energy.
I think that created a little moment in itself.
You're saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down like wrestling like he does.
No Mariah May, she said boom.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
That you need to be careful in the locker room.
I definitely think that women's wrestling has been elevated.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah.
Raw horse.
Raw horse?
Oh my God.
Amazing.
I had to smack him around a few times to fully gain his respect.
It was Frankie's match.
Awesome.
This podcast is, quite frankly, the drizzling shit, if I'm being quite honest.
Today spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom. Your favorite father and son.
Every afternoon on your FYP.
We'll be bringing the boom around 3:15.
We bring the boom so loud the whole earth shakes.
With double chunk chocolate cookies
And chicken bakes.
We bring the boom.
Oh my gosh.
We bring the
As much as I don't necessarily love that, I think it's like a bittersweet thing that's like, quietly starting to like it more and more and more. But that was hilarious. You got me popping in the chat, or you got me popping off the screen with that, bringing the boom. So that was pretty funny, man. Love that. I love incorporating our crew guy on that too. So well done. Everyone that's in our draft season 5 is bringing the boom. This is all about bringing the boom. And next season could be feeling the wrath. But hey, everyone, happy Thursday, everyone. Dynamite Download episode 166. Thanks for joining us. We love seeing you in the chat. We got a very special guest coming in later on the show himself, Alan Angels, former member of the Dark Order and AEW. Can't wait to chat with him after we talk things Dynamite, man. Mind, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing fantastic tonight. In my special designed Dynamite Download cup, the lights are so bright, you got to wear shades. You can get the merch, of course. Just click the link below. I'm actually having some delicious hot chocolate made by Full Tilt Deb. Thank you, Full Tilt Deb.
Wow, what a great missus.
Oh, so good, because it is freezing outside where I'm in my bunker that we're located. But I'm super excited. I'm feeling the boom. What a great week that's been for wrestling. What a great week what an incredible Collision and Dynamite. Awesome stuff that has been going on. Excited with the new things building up. I have I think I set myself up for disappointment on one particular thing, but again, that's what I love about this is something you don't always get it right. Super excited, and I'm excited about the Frontman, Alan Angels, joining us here later. If you had a chance, by the way, thank you, Dynamite Download fam, for turning out for our Tuesday Pro Wrestling Adrenaline Control Room session. Myself and Mr. Fun Size Marco Stunt breaking down these awesome matches. I feel like this is going to be a relationship, a collab, much like the announced collab between TNA and WWE. I think PWA and Dynamite Download, this is going to be a great things coming out of all of that. But the coolest thing going on right now, as we all know, is the draft. And should we get to the draft right now? Let's see who's in the draft.
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom. Your favorite father and son.
Every afternoon on your FYP.
We'll be bringing the boom around 3:15.
We bring the boom so loud the whole earth shakes.
With double chunk chocolate cookies
and chicken bakes.
I pressed the wrong button. I'm so sorry. Boom. All right. So
you know what I think we should do? I love the dancing intro for everyone to get a spot. But for those of us in the Dynamite download draft season 5, whoever is at the top of the pyramid should be able to pick the background song to the dance.
Okay.
So we could
All
change that. We doesn't have to be Bringing the Boom, because I know that there's a little mixed reviews, and I know the Double Chug Chocolate Cookie guy is on your roster for this year's draft. It might get a nice sleeper pick to put you over the top, but yours truly, SPD, is in the lead right now currently. So whoever's in the lead on our Thursday night shows should select what kind of background music they want for the next week.
I like that idea. Yep.
Off air, I'll pick something, and it'll be a surprise. So we can reach out to whoever's in the lead, and then it'll be a surprise for the next song on that. But this is a marathon. This is definitely a marathon. We have a jam-packed episode of Collision coming up.
Yep.
This is also going to, it being a marathon, no Rampage. So, points are definitely at a premium. So it's going to be, one or two at a time, none at a time. And it's okay, because, it's going to ebb and flow throughout all these next 5 months. So I'm excited to see this.
You are absolutely right. And it is a sprint. Or it's not a sprint. It is a marathon, not a sprint. My mistake. I got it. I'm dyslexic. What can I say? But I mean, for you to be at 4 right now and Courtney at 0, that means nothing, as everybody knows who participated in this challenge, that anything can happen. We've got so much going on, so many dynamics. The Continental, I almost got a Continental Classic, but the women's gauntlet that we had last night, there were so many different storylines that could come out of it. The insane ending last night with the Death Riders versus AEW, essentially. We got to see the cleaner return. There's so many things coming, and some of our surprise picks that we weren't sure if they were returning or not. We had a surprise return, a surprise debut, and we also got to see somebody that we had dismissed as a manager step back into the ring after 2 years. So there's anything can happen.
Absolutely, anything can happen. And I really loved the atmosphere of Dynamite last night. So we'll dive into that in interest of time. We want to cover as much as we can before we have our very special guest coming on the show, which we're very excited to talk to. But I texted you. I was like, man, I would have loved to have been at this show because of the way they're doing this. And I'll repeat what I texted you, that AEW deserves to sell out huge arenas, sell out huge places because of how good their roster is and this is where the best wrestle. However, on a week-to-week basis, if they're pulling things like this and having these intimate shows that are just like not only awesome for the fans, but it just works for TV, in my opinion. I think this is the more route they should go for 2025. Have those one-offs, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, the Grand Slam, and things like that, and just know your market better. Like, since you don't want to overbook yourself on bigger markets, and that's okay. Like, that's part of the growing phase of AEW. So having this intimate venue, I love this like tight 360 almost esque, and the cameras were all different. And I think it played very well with the show we had. And, I was definitely pumped to the show. Maximum Carnage, I think, definitely delivered on this one. And I loved it, man. What match stood out to you the most?
Yeah, well, just to your point about the arena itself, I think that the experiments they ran with that series of collisions in Texas at that one center, and then, of course, the Hammerstein Ballroom that they had with it there for that series. I think that's absolutely correct. I don't want to talk about Moxley Hobbs just yet. I'm still trying to work through that. I do want to talk about the ones that stood out to me was kicking it off with Omega and Brian Cage, the Battle of the Terminators. And Kenny Omega is Kenny Omega. I do feel like, much like Bryan Danielson, he is playing up that real life injury. I mean, that real life issue with his reticulitis. But it whenever he gets kicked in the midsection or when he's selling his getting hurt, it's really it's making me nervous about it. It's almost like when Adam Cole came back from his leg. It's like, except I don't think Kenny Omega really is that injured with it anymore. I think we definitely, if you got a chance to see him in Japan for Wrestle Dynasty, you got to see the Kenny Omega is back, just like Raz says. And yes, I feel like a lot of the old feeling is back with Kenny. When Kenny's back in AEW, some of that old AEW feeling is back. But I've got to give Brian Cage his flowers, because we continue on Dynamite Download to sing the praises of Brian Cage. And this is, first of all, Brian Cage, keep the beard. I love it, dude. I love this look. You look kind of like Old Man Logan a little bit, or like the scruffy Wolverine a little bit. I mean, not Old Man Logan, but you get what I'm saying. But Brian Cage, as he's one of those big guys that can keep up with a Kenny Omega or even a Will Ospreay, and it's just allowing him to get the dominance that he did during this match. Kenny Omega can wrestle anybody, make anybody look good, but Brian Cage, Kenny Omega didn't have to work hard for that with Cage, and I thought this was a fantastic match. Honestly, I felt like this was match of the night for me. This was actually, in my opinion, I enjoyed it. Of course, the aftermath, of Don Callis, it was like everybody was coming out. The whole Don Callis family came out. Fletcher, Takeshita. I mean, there's so many angles we're building here, and of course, that's such a great pick right
Epic
there.
Shot.
Murder Machine, Takeshita, and you've got Kyle Orton or Randy Fletcher, whichever you want to say. Such a great, and I say that, I joke, but I say that with as a compliment. But I'm loving this almost mega powers union of Omega and Ospreay. I was waiting for the Macho and Hulk kind of like, you Ospreay, you son of a bitch, and then something like that. But it was fantastic. I enjoyed every minute of it. And again, these are the type of matches where AEW, whoever loses the match, doesn't look like they got squashed. They're not buried. They got their stuff in, and Brian Cage looked tremendous. Fantastic match.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great first match back with Kenny Omega. We'll say this. It's one of those like trends, like I'm doing this until it changes, or I'm doing this till I get noticed. Like, I miss Kenny Omega's theme song. I really want his Battle Cry theme song back, because I think it's such a huge song to pop to. Obviously he's personal ties to his new theme song and all that, whatever, that's fine. But I will say it, just like we miss Thunder Rosa's OG song and others. Sometime if it's not broke, don't fix it, But anyways, that excuse me, that all aside, that these guys mesh so well together in the ring. And I think that inserting Kenny Omega with the back into the Don Callis saga, at first you're kind of like, does that need to happen? But it's very enjoyable the way it's starting to pan out, because you throw in all four of those guys right there. And obviously, as we've talked about before, for heels or baby faces to chase heels, it's a lot more fun and rewarding for the payoff. And so these guys are outnumbered, they're out muscled, they're outmanned, and they are going against some of the biggest guys in AEW and some of the best ones that can work in the ring with all four of these guys, with the Don Callis family. So when their backs against the wall, and when they're going to be able to do, triumph wins over them, I love that we're going to be getting mixed matches. I mean, every one of those guys on the Don Callis family is going to have a killer match with Kenny Omega, and everyone's going to have a killer match with Will Ospreay. Everyone, there's history there. And so like when the face-to-face with Takeshita, it's like, okay, now, is in the chat, is he going to go for the international championship, or are they this going to just be a stopgap until Okada and Kenny Omega meet? I don't know where that goes. I could see Ospreay dethroning Takeshita over Omega, because we ultimately want the Okada Omega payoff in the end. But I did like the way this match. I do agree with you, Steven, in the chat. Like, I wish this had a little bit more time. I like this match a lot, and even though the way the card was booked, like this made sense to kick off the show because you start on a huge high note, you end on an awesome, like typical Death Riders note. But I want Kenny Omega to be pushed more. I don't want him to just be inserted into a couple feuds. I want him to be pushed to the top. And, we were fantasy booking him to be a surprise and do, show up on Jon Moxley's back as a return, kind of like the way Jon Moxley was on the scene in AEW. I feel like that would have been awesome. However, creative stuff aside, it is what it is. And we're just happy Kenny Omega's back because it just feels right and feels at home to have Kenny Omega on AEW. AEW doesn't feel the same without him.
Nope. And
he is the best bout machine for a reason.
He is the best bout machine. And
those guys definitely are, they're going to tag together. And that's just going to be insane.
It makes sense too, because for him to not just come back and immediately confront Moxley, because he's got unfinished business with the Callis family. The Callis family he left when he went on hiatus is not the same Callis family he's returned to. And Ospreay, who used to be one of his biggest rivals, is now pretty much his ally. Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, is my ally. Right. So fantastic. I do think eventually once he's done with this whole thing, we'll see Kenny back into that spotlight. Right. But I'm excited. I'm actually more excited for Kenny versus Takeshita than I am Kenny versus Okada. Kenny versus Okada, it's kind of been there, done that if you've watched New Japan. And I'd rather see Okada face somebody else, where I'd rather, Kenny and Takeshita. I was asking for a DNA test to see if Takeshita has some Omega DNA in him. But anyways, super excited. It's going to be really cool. Awesome stuff. I agree 100% with what you said.
In interest of time, I want to talk about the main event too. Start the show on the show. And so much happened last night. I loved the surprises. I love the surprise re-return of Megan Bayne to the gauntlet match, the surprise return of Samoa Joe.
I don't have my towel.
But the main event, I mean, we were clamoring, we were hoping. They did such a good job at building Hobbs to be a legitimate threat in such a short amount of time. Yeah. And we know he just came off a loss to Takeshita at the Full Gear at the pay-per-view in November. However, quickly he turned around, won some matches, got some momentum, and the promos, it just made you feel so like behind him. And obviously the guy looks like $1 million. He's been putting in the work. He's just a total beast, future world champ in my opinion. Yes. And we thought this was going to be the night. I want one of those payoffs for Hobbs to have it, almost like the Wardlow payoff, where it's like you're getting the Wardlow to MJF payoff, like that was like taking so long, and we knew it was coming. It was just waiting, and then it's all of a sudden just boom. Like this is it happened so short. So like for him to win would have been fantastic. However, I want that slow build that will just get a wave even so big of support behind Hobbs, and then he ultimately wins. And because I think him winning tonight would have been great. However, I would have wanted it to save it to a bigger moment, bigger marquee moment for him, because the guy, literally just like a song, like started from the bottom. Now he's here, like to the top, like, an extra, a, work or enhancement talent, a crowd talent. And now look at a main eventing title shot. Yeah. Love to see the growth with Hobbs. And, we have been a fan for him for many, many years. And it's just so fun to see where he's at now. Every single week, every single month, he's growing more and more and more. And he's just an absolute beast. Love him.
Now, okay, I have to confess, this was the match I think I set myself up for disappointment. And I'm ashamed to say that, because last night I was ready for a hot take. I was ready to go off and be like, "Wow, yeah, you guys screwed up." But I got to sleep on it. I got to think about it, and this was chef's kiss. This was exactly what they needed to do, because they're doing for Powerhouse Hobbs what they have done for the other homegrown superstars. They're putting him in that title picture now. He is now in the conversation with Moxley, Hangman, Omega, with Jay White now, who's also in the conversation. Swerve. You're putting him in that conversation, and it's on his merits. It's not any other reason than Powerhouse Hobbs is a beast, and he is awesome. He's got a great work ethic. He's a great dude. Fantastic. Yeah, Jeff Jarrett too. Exactly. Yes, I do. I want to give Slapnuts his cred. But what I love is here's what they did. I wanted, of course, Hobbs to win, grab the briefcase, and tear it apart with his bare hands. It would have been fantastic. However, you got to keep in mind, last night, Powerhouse Hobbs, it wasn't just Powerhouse Hobbs versus Moxley. It was Powerhouse Hobbs versus the Death Riders. I mean, the start of the match, everybody was there. Yuta with his sneaky little snake attack. And, even Marina Shafir, she just gets in his face. I mean, if there's one woman that Powerhouse should be allowed to smack, it should be Marina Shafir. But I understand.
No, I want to see Spine Buster.
Spine Buster. She should get a Spine Buster, but it was fantastic. Or maybe have Willow come out and do it. Whatever. Hobbs looked fantastic. Hobbs was a beast. Those chops at Moxley, and Moxley was selling like crazy. It was fantastic. Mox is trying. This is the same Mox that went chop for chop with Minoru Suzuki. And then he was trying to chop Hobbs down. Nothing happened. Also, Hobbs taught Moxley a lesson. Don't wear an earring to a wrestling match. It was, it was shades of Wayne's World when Chris Farley pulled the nipple ring off the dude. It just, again, Moxley bleeding in a match, big surprise. This was the most gushing I've seen. It almost got crazy, but I was all for it. I was so proud. And again, the shoot that Hobbs did before all of this really got going, when he said Moxley essentially handpicked him and brought him up.
Right.
This is what it's going. And again, he's in the conversation. We got this insane 12-man thing this Saturday involving Hobbs and Moxley and Jericho and all this kind of crazy stuff. So I'm sure there's going to be fallout from that. But I thought this was after calming down because my guy didn't win. I'm cool. I'm actually very cool with this. I feel like Hobbs looked great. They made Hobbs look like the monster that he is. Kudos to him. And this is on a Dynamite. We're having this match. You know it. I know it. We all guarantee Hobbs is going to get that world title soon at some point. It may not be this year. It may be 2026, but gold is, I think, I'm going to say it now. Hobbs is going to get gold in 2025. And he doesn't need the TNT title. It's big time. He is in the big time now. And you'd love to see it.
So, I posed a question out on our X channel that, obviously they were trying to put Hobbs out. And, they hit his knee with the chair. They took his brace off, and then they stomped his knee inside the chair.
Mm-hmm.
So, in theory, that could take a wrestler out, for a while, put an injury there. So in the event of Hobbs being not able to compete in the massive 12-man tag match that is going to be on Collision on Saturday, who would you want to replace him? We saw Cope confront Brody. That would be an absolute insane addition to that 12-man tag.
Yes.
Commander has been known to team up with the Outrunners as well, and a TK favorite. The return of someone like Wardlow would be pretty sweet. FTR has been partners with Wardlow before, and for Wardlow to join Team AEW would be great. Obviously, we always want Wardlow anywhere because we miss him and we want him on there as well. But in the event he can't, have you thought about it? Also in the chat, who would you want to fill in for Hobbs in the event Hobbs is not able to compete? I think the easy pick would be like a Commander, just because of he's had history with Claudio and the Death Riders as well with the Continental Classic tournament. And this match isn't like, a trios match. So having a 12-man tag, it's not that pivotal, I guess, to have like a wild card ace up your sleeve to join your team, because it can be a little chaotic, I'm sure.
Yeah.
However, I thought when that all was penning out on Collision, I thought we were like, oh, sweet, the trios titles is going to be back in the mix. There's going to be a 4-way for the trios titles. So, I wanted to make a hot take, but, in the interest of time, because we got a special guest coming, I wanted to book the trios, and I could save that for next week. But I was hoping for a 4-way with the trios titles, with the Learning Tree trios champs, Outrunners plus someone, and then obviously FTR and Cope, which I want them to have the trios titles like badly because they would bring the trios titles so much justification. Now, if Cope is going for the world title, which it sure seems like he's kind of inching his way that way, then maybe they do Cope and or Rated FTR recruit someone else. You know, could you imagine FTR and Brody? Brody, like, oh my gosh, those as trios champs, like,
yep.
But in the chat, real quick, like, who would you want to see the next trios champs? I mean, I've been saying all along before even Cope came back, Rated FTR would be like an awesome trios champs because they need to put those back on the map ASAP.
I agree.
ASAP.
I agree 1,000%. And I would love for it to be Brody. Can you imagine Brody replacing Hobbs at this 12-man thing and then being part of that? And Cope said that Rated FTR, they're going for all the gold. So just like he's going for the world title, he wants FTR for the tag titles. He wants to get that they want to get the trios titles. I would love to see Private Party mix it up with the Hurt Syndicate and FTR. I think the Hurt Syndicate FTR would be tremendous. But I think there's one other possible candidate that I think could replace Hobbs and possibly join the Outrunners as a trio, returning to the ring.
Boys!
I would
some hearts and win some titles.
So that's, I mean, the Outrunners were the boys. Then they kind of they were the new boys and they went on their way. I would love Dalton Castle back with the Outrunners. Now that the Outrunners have some awesome momentum. Yeah. So I did not think about that. I was absolutely, but I do like that concept on that. But anyways, I want to talk something that you're pumped about. Everything that was featured last night, lots of women wrestling was featured last night.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great champ promo, the day in the life of the CEO, plus the Casino Gauntlet match. I love the way this panned out. I disliked the ending because of the way it ended. I do not like any kind of roll-up finish. I don't like ever. The
most devastating move in all of wrestling.
She could have done her finisher and won Toni Storm. I'm happy because I got a +1 point on that one. I do like how it was featured, but I honestly feel like they could have added more ladies in it. And I was hoping for this, as we talked about last week, that we could have seen more of the ladies in the women's division to just kind of reintroduce us to what's out there. Like a good core group of ladies that was featured. Like, you could have thrown in the Penelope Ford, you could have thrown in Thunder Rosa, you could have brought DMD back. Yeah. Like, just give us the works, as many possible, just to reintroduce people to what's out there for the women's division. So I think that was a miss. However, I did like I do love this style of match, and I think it rushed. It was a little rushed, a little bit. And I think what was at fault was the MJF Jeff Jarrett promo, which I don't know if we'll have time to talk about that, but that's definitely a hot topic to talk about. But I want to talk about this match. Like, how did you feel it panned out, and overall take on this one?
Well, I'll go with my nitpicks first. I don't say the negatives. I'll just say the nitpicks because there were some things I thought could have gone better. Of course, sometimes it's my own overbooking mind. There's things that I would have loved for it to have been Harley instead of Toni Storm winning, so that they could have said, yes, an Australian is coming home for a title match, but it's not the Australian you thought. However, I mean, I get it. I mean, the plan was, I think we all could see it a mile away. Toni Storm was going to be the rookie, was going to win. And this has kind of been fitting with her gimmick. But what I love less about the outcome as the content, because there was so much going on this. I wish that we would have been able to see more women. Thunder Rosa was noticeably absent from this. Missing out on the Thunder Rosa. I mean, even if she wasn't going to win, you got to put Thunder Rosa. You got to give Thunder as much screen time as possible. I mean, just she's an instant pop.
No one is negative if they come in the match and get a couple moves in. Like, they're not losing stock.
Yeah, and that's the
but
whole.
It's only gaining stock because of FaceTime.
And that's one of the things I actually kind of like this gauntlet style, because anybody can get the win, but you're showcasing so much talent at once.
Exactly.
You could have brought in Penelope Ford. There would have been a pop for that. A returning Ty Mello would have been incredible if returning. That would have been a huge pop. But let's focus on what did take place. We got to see kind of the mutual respect reunion, the chops of forgiveness between Statlander and Willow. I mean, they're kind of reconciling.
Chops of forgiveness. I like that.
I do like that. Jamie Hayter was able to, was in there. It was interesting that Jamie Hayter wasn't as quite the dominant force as expected. But we also got the debut of Megan Bayne, who's technically been signed with AEW for some time, but she finally got to make her arrival, and what an epic arrival it was, making Chris Statlander look small in the ring, super powerhouse. A lot of people were excited that poor Harley got spit in the face with the mist from Julia. So we're going to get that match this weekend on Collision.
Right.
Yeah, a chance to see Harley, her Instagram, she's showing in the shower where you can see her feet and then you see all the ink coming off. But Megan Bayne versus Statlander, Megan Bayne versus Willow, book it, please. This is adding some strength to the women's division. Anybody that's not familiar with Megan Bayne, go to Google, go to YouTube, type Megan Bayne. She did wrestle in Dark a couple of years ago, but she's not even that person right now. She has become such a powerhouse, such an awesome. And I agree with Manny as well about Abaddon. Yes, Abaddon would have had a huge pop. So bring a couple Ring of Honor folks. I mean, imagine if Athena showed up just for use this the gauntlet matches. These women and men's gauntlet matches, they should be treated like the Royal Rumble. You're going to win, but it's a chance to get some pops, to get everybody excited, and you could bring in some guest stars, even if they're not going to stay with Dynamite. If they're going to go back to Ring of Honor or what have you, bring in some special superstars. I mean, imagine the pop Abaddon would have gotten that arena. Imagine the pop Athena, Billy Starks, Stir It Up, Red Velvet. I mean, Queen Aminata. There's so many folks that could have gotten a pop, that could have just get that. They like in the Royal Rumble, they say that first 30 seconds when you enter, everybody's watching you. You got that. That's giving everybody in the women's division 30 seconds of spotlight, and eventually you go to your planned finish. I thought the planned finish was great. I do want to, just as a fan, again, I'm not a wrestler, I'm not in the business, but as a fan, this is just a plea I have for AEW. Yes, you have a plan. You have an idea. You've got an idea of where you're going to, but please be flexible enough that if you can really hear the fans wanting something else, occasionally give it to them. You don't have to always do that, but like the Outrunners are over. MXM, they're over. Harley Cameron is super over.
She is.
Don't blow it. Don't squash them because you've planned something else.
The women's division is as good as it gets right now. And you bring back Camille, you added Megan Bayne, you bring in the OGs of DMD Thunder, Serena Deeb, and others. Man, it's looking very, very, very good. And so I hope they go back to the old early days of Collision where they would have at least 2 matches of women's matches. And so you need it. There's no way the roster is too thick of awesome talent to only have 1 match a night on Dynamite, or 1 to 2 matches a week. It's too hard. There's no way. Now I'm still not, there's no room for a tag team women's division, in my opinion. You just got to focus around the 2 belts that you have at the moment. So I love the way that it's sitting at. I'm excited to see where we're going to be at the end of this year, because like you said, I do firmly believe that Harley Cameron is going to be a breakout star of 2025. And it's cool. Like, I went to a show in Connecticut, I think it was like 2 years ago, in a gymnasium. Megan Bayne was there, put on an absolute dominant performance. Commander was there fighting Vikingo, and it was just an epic match right there. We're sitting second row. Taven was there. And so it's like all these talents that are in AEW right now, like having great runs and featured on TV, very frequently. It's a lot of fun to see them now and from where I saw them a few years ago. So the talent is there, and I'm excited for what the women's division is in store for 2025, because I think AEW's best when its tag team is cooking and when its world title is cooking and the women's division is cooking. So we had, that era of the DMD Thunder feud, the lights out match, all that was like peak stuff. And, Toni Storm did some incredible stuff. Congratulations to her to win the PWI award. And I'm excited for what it is. I really can't wait for on it. It is totally stacked. It is definitely, as you said, yes, AEW Women's is stacked, and we need more women's matches. That's a fact. I mean, because there's too much talent there. Too much talent.
There's so much talent. And I think it's fantastic. I feel like it's time for, women's tag titles. I do think there's so much that we can do. But I think that adding Megan Bayne is going to be a huge plus to it, and I think it's time. I think it's time for us to see. I think it's time for us to see I think it's time for us to see women's tag belts. I think it's time for us to get a women's Continental Classic. I think it's time for a women's Blood and Guts. I
love Blood and Guts idea.
The people want that. So. Anyway,
Tay Mello. We missed Tay Mello. That could have been a key opportunity for her to re-debut. Like the pop would have been
Ty Mello. I was hoping we were going to hear her theme kick off at the Gauntlet last night. I was hoping that would have been. I would have popped big time. And I go back to Ty Mello's first match in AEW when she came from NXT. Because I mean, we keep it positive here, but it was pretty clear there was some unfair treatment of her back in NXT. Of course, that's a different time. It's a totally different environment now. But back then, I know she was so happy to come to AEW, and you could see it. She was almost crying when she came out. So I thought that was fantastic. Overall, I'm excited about it. Real quick before we, I think we have I think the groupies are in the chat all of a sudden. I think they're starting to chant for the Frontman to join us here shortly. But I think before we get started, I do feel compelled to talk about, and I want to know your thoughts.
I'm going to just guess.
Well, okay. Yeah, we can talk about.
What were you going to say?
I was actually going to talk about Jeff Jarrett MJF, but no, let's talk about.
We can talk about Jeff Jarrett MJF. Let's do it.
I do want to talk
about. I know
about
people in the chat are curious about this. Well, we got to say good job, Samoa Joe. Yes. Hold on, I want to show this one first, because before we talk about that one, I just got to say, as you have said, national treasure that needs to be protected at all costs is Prince Nana. The guy is just absolutely just 10 out of 10, spot on, fantastic stuff. That spot where, this picture says it all. I mean, look at his face, just like absolutely epic moment last night on Dynamite. One of the more memorable moments because of just his character work. Spot on, 10 out of 10.
He hit the chair at the perfect, like in with the song, like right with the Who's Out, he went boom like that. It was perfect timing. I love this Ricochet Andrew Tate kind of persona a little bit.
That's great.
He was he didn't have to say what, he could have just walked away, and he could have actually walked away and just not said anything, and it would have been fine, because just the boos themselves were just incredible. I thought that was fantastic. Just the crowd reaction that he got. Clearly just being such a great heel, and Swerve with the junkyard dog chain around. Swerve didn't have to say nothing. Just came walking out, the look on his face. And I love the contrast between, Nana and Swerve. Swerve all serious and ready to kick ass. And then you've got Nana, swerving behind him. Great stuff. Before the front man, looks like the front man is still in the green room here, making sure that we got his jelly beans in order. But we do want to talk about MJF and Jeff Jarrett. First of all, as Full Tilt Deb pointed out, Jeff was making MJF literally sweat his spray tan off, and that was quite an interesting back and forth. Let us know what your thoughts were on this back and forth. But I do think if you step behind the curtain, what MJF is giving Slapnuts what he needs. MJF is actually, I dare say it's respect under the table, where it sounds like, a heel promo. I did kind of pop at the Olympic gold medalist balls in her mouth kind of line. That was woo. But I thought this interaction was probably a little bit too long, but I do feel like I said, if you told me 2 years ago that I would be not only cheering for Double J Jeff Jarrett, but also hoping that he gets a title shot, gets a title run, I would have thought you were crazy. But I'm actually for it. Even if he only has it for a couple weeks and then gets his ass beat, I'd love to see Jeff Jarrett get some gold if he's going to stay with AEW. At least if he's going to finish his wrestling career in AEW.
I don't see him winning gold, honestly. Unfortunately, I don't see him winning gold. I'm fine for this push and this kind of like resurgence. I don't want to reuse someone else's term, like one last ride in a sense, but I'm curious of like, how come we're getting this all of a sudden this push? Like why the two promo segments, one in the ring with MJF, one with Dustin Rhodes, and we haven't even seen him wrestle. Like, he's on Team SPD, which I'm happy for. Hopefully get some W's, but like, I don't know, man.
Well, we did get to see him in the gauntlet, but yeah.
Well, no, he didn't even make it to the ring.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
he didn't even make it to the ring. So I don't know the direction they're I'm trying to find some silver lining with this. I don't know why they're giving 3 straight shows of promo segments to this with MJF and Jeff Jarrett. Like, finally they got some physicality at the end of the promo, but it's like, just hash it out, get in the ring, fight. I mean, at this point, like, the low blows have been thrown. There's no more to do except to set the match. I'm struggling to find anything to say about this, honestly. Like, unfortunately, I'm not buying into it. I like Jeff Jarrett. I thought he was an awesome heel. I think he's great transitioning to babyface. I love his everything about him, but the pairing with MJF was kind of a shock, and I just hope the payoff is worth the wait. And so that's the one thing I'm nervous about. And I'm struggling. What do you guys think in the chat? Because I just, Dynamite Download, this is the home for all positive coverage AEW, and I'm biting my tongue on a lot of things on this one, and I want to be proven wrong on some internal bookings from SPD. So I hopefully, like I said, the payoff is worth everything that we're experiencing here. Now, one thing that was great in the last night, I want to shift gears because we'll move on from this. Mm-hmm. One of the sleeper picks of the draft is definitely going to be Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe returned to save Hook. I think was perfect timing. And, unfortunately, like, it's going back to where he was when he got hurt, he left for his movies and all the stuff he's doing. I feel like the pairing with Hook and Shabbat, like all that, like, it was fine for then, but I feel like it's time to move on. Like, I feel like he's bigger and better stuff to do. Like, he could have been the surprise guest if he replaced Hobbs, someone like that. Like, push him more towards the top, because he is, he was the champ 2 champs ago. So I love seeing him back. I've always loved Samoa Joe's presentation, his offense and all that. So were you surprised with this return?
Well, you know what's funny? I actually predicted it. Like, that was one of the funny things when we were our watch party is I said I actually did like when this whole thing was going down. I went ba na na na, and as soon as I finished singing, we heard the actual music, and I popped like an idiot. It was so funny. It was incredible. I was so stoked. I mean, I sent you the thing. I said I got to bust out the white towel for me. You know?
Oh, for sure, you should have.
I thought that was incredible.
I think I'm curious. Or go ahead, mine.
No, I'll just say I'm actually communicating with the Frontman's his PR department. There's an issue with the number of red jelly beans in his green room. The problem is, as you know, Robert Kennedy Jr. is trying to outlaw red dye number 5. So we had to actually go in the black market to get the red jelly beans. So he is in the green room. We're trying to get this. So please continue as I negotiate with his PR department. And I apologize about the red jelly beans. We're working on that right now, but I'm going to continue to work with his PR department here as we, in the meantime, but I love that Joe is back.
Well, here's the thing. Like one thing that, part of one of my hot takes that I wanted to do was the trios division. I'm going to talk about that because we had the trios match last night. Briscoe, the Private Party tag team champs versus the Hurt Syndicate, which I feel like to me, it came like a big surprise that MVP was going to be in the ring, because when he came to AEW, I felt like he was only going to be managerial. And then when we saw him in GCW have a match, and it's like, okay, well, I guess maybe he's going to be wrestling. So when we see him with in the ring last night on Dynamite, that just throws a whole nother wrench into stuff. Like then you have more trios teams that are out there, but I feel like the trios division and the trios belts need to be resurged ASAP. I mean, put those on. Like they're not even, the Death Riders aren't even carrying them out there anymore. Yep. They're almost MIA, just like the world title's MIA. So I would love for, as the resident babyface, the rated FTR to have the trios, Hurt Syndicate to have the trios. You have so many other great trios teams out there. Like now's the time to resurge the trios and tag division.
Like even Dark Order. I mean, let's get Dark Order back to
anybody.
Where they went downhill.
Anybody
after,
but the Death Riders right now, because they don't need
Dark Order
the trios division right now.
Dark Order went downhill after 5 left. I mean, that was he was the heart and soul. All right, okay. I do have a response from the Frontman's PR department. They're gonna forgive me for not having enough red jelly beans in his rider, so he's gonna let that slide. So now he is ready to join us. He has forgiven us for that oversight. Apologies to the Alan Angels team. I know you guys sent me the rider earlier, but I blame RFK Jr. because he's outlawing red dye number 5. That's why we couldn't have the red jelly beans. But going forward, it's time for the front man he's going to be joining us soon. So groupies in the chat, get ready. The front man is joining us in just a moment. And there he is, the front man, Alan Angels, in the house. He is the crowd is going crazy. Ladies are throwing all kinds of unmentionables on the stage right now. Alan, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't have my red jelly beans, but I do got the green jelly beans. The green is my second favorite, so we're all good, man.
All right, I appreciate that.
Good,
I blame Jamie. He's on our jelly bean department. He's our procurer guy. We're gonna fire him. So Jamie, you're fired. But thank you for understanding. It's tough. It's tough getting jelly beans these days. But I appreciate your forgiveness on that.
No, yeah, of course. Glad to be on the show.
Man, that stash is looking epic right away. That just
thanks,
I'm in
man.
awe of that stash.
I try, man. You know, I gotta keep it trimmed up. You know, every week I gotta make sure it's nice and fluffed. You know.
We, by the way, one of our sponsors, Viking Revolution Beard Balm. You know, we got to highly recommend. If you want to get that stash and that beard looking nice, and if you want to be on the frontman's level with the beard and mustache game,
I use it every week. I mean, I use it. It's there's no way you're gonna get a stash like mine without using it. So
impossible.
It was a depressing day. I had like a 3-month curl going for a little bit, and I had to trim it down for work, and I was almost a tear in my eye shaving that thing down. So
yeah, man.
Our chat is overloading with A's in the chat. It is going crazy. A's in the chat. Super excited to have you here, Alan Angel. So awesome to have you. And we one of the couple of things, of course, you know, we discovered you. I personally discovered you before Dark Order was even a thing for you, when you had your backwards ball cap and you had this epic match with Kenny Omega. I mean, like that whole pandemic era, I feel like you guys saved pro wrestling. You guys really got a lot of us through a really tough time. And it was almost like a summer camp for wrestling. I hear from a lot of people, like, you know, that whole, especially that string that was at, I think it was at QT Marshall's place. But if you want to share a little bit, if you don't mind, just kind of that start, because you really showed up on the map, definitely my radar, with that epic match with Kenny Omega. The first one, you know, again, you were awesome with the second one, but how was that, and how was that whole process?
Yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things, like the pandemic had just started, like 2 weeks prior, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they did one taping down in Jacksonville, and then they thought that like everything was going to be shut down. So they wanted to film like 4 or 5 weeks of TV, and they just didn't know where to do it. So they ended up doing it at QT Marshall's school. It was called the Power Factory back then, now the Nightmare Factory. And yeah, we went there, and like you said, I do kind of think that in a way we saved wrestling, because I mean it was hard to see any wrestling. I'm very grateful that I got to do that, because I know so many of my friends that didn't get to wrestle for however long, you know, they could in their specific state, you know. But I pretty much never stopped wrestling. Obviously I was wrestling a lot less. Everybody was wrestling a lot less, you know, but at least I was getting to wrestle some. A lot of guys like didn't wrestle for like a year.
Yeah.
Just because they were stuck at home. So I got to wrestle at least once every 2 weeks, you know, which I was super grateful for. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a little summer camp thing, because we all were like, everybody was there every 2 weeks, you know, because we would film 2 episodes in back to back, and then we would be home for 2 weeks and then go back. And it was just like the same group of people over and over and over again. We all got really close, and that's how I met a lot of guys that I'm really close with now that are in AEW and beyond. So yeah, really grateful I got to do all that.
It's awesome. Like you said, QT spot, like our show for the 3+ years we've been on, really almost like there's so much that circulates around just him. And when we had him on a show a few years ago, it was so awesome to talk to him. Yeah. But like everything that he's done in wrestling on and off the screen, and in our intro, we have him giving us a shout out at All In 2021. You're on the panel too, as part of the vlog. And it's funny to see, like, cool to see everyone on the panel slowly coming on our show. You were wearing a mask at the time, but other than, well, if QT is one of them, like, who are some of the early mentors that really helped you out, like your growth in AEW and beyond, and that you're still kind of like in touch with and like seeking advice throughout your growth of wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually started training at AR Fox's school in Atlanta, Georgia, the WWA 4. And so, you know, I still love watching him wrestle to this day, but I actually started wrestling with him. So he was like my, you know, he's the guy who taught me how to do a headlock takeover. So I attribute a lot of my career to him. You know, guys, obviously QT, because eventually I did start going to his school, and I think I really grew as a performer. I don't think I would be where I am right now. I don't think I would be, not to toot my own horn, but I don't think I would be as good as I am without QT. I feel like I'm pretty grateful that I got to kind of experience the best of both worlds when it comes to wrestling, because AR Fox and QT, they're two very, very different styles of wrestling.
For sure.
So I got to go to Fox's school and learn his style of wrestling, that Dragon Gate evolved style that he was doing at the time, and then go to QT's school and you know, kind of incorporate the more TV style of wrestling.
Learned how to smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, and he really taught me how to like slow down and just like and make every moment count, and make everything that you do look like it's the only thing that you're doing in the match, and just make it, you know, mean something. So yeah, I mean, like in AEW, there's so many guys backstage. Jerry Lynn is a guy I always like listening to him, pick his brain. He was definitely a guy I always like tried to get to watch my match, even if he wasn't the one agenting my match. I wanted to get his thoughts and get his opinions on it. He's one that comes to mind. Within the last few years, Alex Shelley actually, is like a guy that I consider a mentor, and like a guy that, you know, kind of really, I mean, there's a bunch of guys on the indies right now that like he kind of took under his wing, and you know, we all became like one of Shelley's kids, you know. So he's for sure up there as far as like guys that really helped me and really mentored me, really advanced me along in my career.
Hey, yo, after beating Chris Sabin, are you gonna be replacing Chris Sabin on the tag team there, or is that a possibility someday?
That'd be sick, man. I wish, man. That would be sick. I would love to be a Machine Gun. I think I did the Motor City Machine Guns like classic tag move, the, you know, all like their little sequence that they do. Yeah. I did half of it with Shelley one time, so that was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We got to talk Dark Order. Of course, we also got to talk Valkyrie. Want to get your thoughts. Just, you know, of course, you know, Brody Lee bringing elevating that whole. You know, there was the golden age of the Dark Order was tremendous. I mean, you guys were actually the most entertaining part of the BTE vlog. Interesting though, because like, those of us that were fans of both BTE and Sammy's vlog, the difference between how Five was treated on BTE versus on Sammy, it's like on Sammy, you were one third of the best boy band in history. I mean, hopefully there's going to be a reunion sometime. If Griff shows up at Pave the Way this Friday,
you never know.
Can we get like almost like when Rikishi joined Too Cool? Can we get like a little after show performance, perhaps? You know, but I don't know. Anyways, I want to ask your thoughts on Brody Lee, the Dark Order, and just kind of, you know, how that whole thing evolved. And I do agree that, you know, I think some people missed that you were kind of the heart, because you were the one that brought Hangman back into their friendship with, when you gave him, I think you gave him a card or something. It was like the Christmas episode, and you were like that one character. Well, you know, how was that whole dynamic, and were you feeling it, or do you think it was and where do you think it could have gone?
No, yeah, I mean, it was kind of an effort to make sure that everybody kind of played a role, I suppose. I think I want to say it was either Hangman's idea or Uno's idea, for me as the guy that like did always like take the brunt of the, you know, the shit talking, for me to be the guy that kind of like ended up bringing us all together, and then ended up bringing Hangman back, and then also there was I think the whole thing was I sent out a bunch of emails because we had like an email thing that people could send in their application to join the Dark Order that like I think it just went to like nothing, but like there was obviously an email that people were sending stuff to, but like nobody ever responded to it. I think it was just like whatever. And then one day we just had the idea of like we should respond to these and like give everybody like a number or whatever. I don't remember exactly what was on the email, but then at the end of it, put my name, and then like somehow that ended up tying into the story of Hangman or whatever. But yeah, it was I think it was Uno's idea to like make sure that everybody was like kind of doing like their part within the Dark Order, making sure everybody was kind of like important, So.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the iconic shootout scene where you guys, it's that slow motion, and then you're all, and of course the whole thing with 10 being on cocaine and he's dressed as a horse, and then even Jerry Lynn. The Jerry Lynn cameos were almost like Stan Lee cameos. Like when Jerry Lynn would like all of a sudden Jerry Lynn somehow is there. Great stuff, and but also with the vlog crew as well, like that it was almost a different. Would you say there was what's the difference between Five Angels on BT and the Dark Order, and then Alan Angels with the vlog crew, or is there a difference?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just in BTE, it's more of just like I was just kind of playing my part in the Dark Order, whereas like with the vlog crew, I really just kind of do whatever I wanted, I guess, because it was more just like a free thing, whereas like as weird as it sounds, like BTE had this like upper echelon, like only certain things could go on, like, and you can like pitch your ideas or whatever, but it was more of just like, I don't know, there's like certain things that needed to go on, whereas the vlog crew stuff, it was really just the 5, 6, 7 of us like just doing kind of whatever we wanted, and we were just most of the stuff that we came up with was just like us bullshitting in the hotel room, and then we were like, yeah, we should do this would be a funny bit. And I remember we did one where we supposedly threw somebody out of a window, and I was like, it would be funny if we put in the clip of Vince McMahon standing outside of the Titan Towers or whatever, and like, I don't know, it's stupid. It's all and it was all just us spitballing, whereas like the Dark Order stuff was all just more of a collaborated. I guess honestly, the biggest thing it comes down to is more organized. I think BT was more organized, whereas the vlog stuff was not. And it wasn't a bad thing. They both work either way. It's just like how it all came about.
Man, us guys, we've been AEW from day one, and the Dark Order, as we always coined and kept saying, and I think of course, the home team of AEW, especially unfortunately after the passing. And a few years ago, I was just trying to find it, and I found it. We did a campaign called Join Dark Order January many years ago. And so on our shows, every January throughout that whole time, we try to do recruitment stuff. And so we created a Join Dark Order January. I think that's the month we had Silver on and Alex as well on our show, but it just felt like, I mean, we were like hooked. You like sunk us in and like to part of the recruitment mode. We were recruitment specialists. And
there you go.
During that time, like the rise of the Dark Order, like what did you guys see as a group of like the potential? Like to us, it seemed like limitless potential, especially just because of the reactions you guys were getting with everything, both because of BT, both because of what was going on there. And the commentator team did such a great job of hyping you guys up on there. Like, did you guys like, what was like the ultimate goal?
Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that question, to be honest. I don't know if there ever was an actual I mean, obviously I think everybody kind of has the same goals in wrestling, right? Like, win championships and make money. I mean, that's kind of so, and for a while I feel like Dark Order was kind of one of the most over acts in wrestling. It was kind of crazy between the BTE stuff and like the Hangman stuff, it was pretty wild, like how into it and like how loud the reactions that we got every time our music hit, you know, and this was like at a time period where you know, AEW was like really on fire, and it was just the fact that like we could still come out and get these gigantic pops for our music.
Yeah,
it was pretty incredible. I gotta say. So I don't know if there ever was like if anybody had a goal. Obviously, you know, everybody wants to move up in the card. But there was nothing we ever like discussed or maybe even expected. I don't know. It's kind of hard because, again, like, you know, when Brody was there, we had a figurehead, a main event player as the leader of our group, right? So I think that always helps if you have that main event guy as at the helm.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be figured in somewhere because of that main event guy. And with the loss of Brody, I feel like you know, we were just kind of a little bit directionless. So I don't know if you would say there was a cap on it, but it was sometimes there wasn't really we just didn't really know what was going on or what we would do because we didn't have that top guy in our group anymore. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. It did seem like, you know, nobody could replace Brody Lee, obviously,
Yes,
but
right.
I feel like the closest when the Hangman stuff,
Right.
when you Hungman,
Yeah.
that two of my favorite Dark Order moments. I mean, there's so many, but you know, as I'm number 42, by the way, representing, but that epic entrance that you guys did with Hanger. It was like when you were taking on the EVPs. You were taking, they did some kind of like Space Jam thing, but you guys had that epic intro where, hey, you know, it was all of you guys lined up, and it looked like there was a space for Brody up there too. Like, because there was one, like the spotlights hit all these spaces, but there was one empty space. I think a lot of us kind of were like, okay, that was for Brody. My other favorite was when they ran back, you and Kenny Omega one-on-one. And the crowd was so, like, you were 5 at this point, but you were like ready. And that you started out like it was one of those things that JR was talking you up. Everybody, like, I felt like if there was a moment for them to pull the trigger and somehow give you that Action Andretti moment or whatever, where you could get that 1, 2, 3 of, I mean, the place would have lost their minds. I was popping myself. I was like, this, pull the trigger, man. That would have, I feel like that would have been the move.
Yeah.
But you know, wrestling someone like Kenny Omega, wrestling just those moments. What I do appreciate, and we're very positive on AEW because of what they've done and all that. And it's not perfect, of course, but one of the things I do like is how that they give opportunities for wrestlers like yourself to get that spotlight, to show off what you can do. And like, I feel like, let me ask you this. Do you feel like the climate now in wrestling, in the wrestling landscape, is such that not being with a major company or isn't necessarily a death sentence to your career? I mean, you look at guys like Matt Cardona, you look at guys like, what's that guy's name? Fuego del Sol. Fuego del Sol. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Or you can, you know, go into TNA, you know, and being the front man. You know, there's such an opportunity now where you can really showcase. I mean, am I wrong in that? Has the landscape changed in the last 5 to 10 years for pro wrestling?
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. I think indie wrestling in itself, you know, anyone can make a name. I think with the come up of X and Instagram and everything, and even like TikTok, like guys can make a name for themselves in any sort of number of ways. It's kind of it's still hard, don't get me wrong, but it is kind of at the point where you don't need the machine behind you to make a name for yourself, which is, you know, awesome for anybody. Now at the same time, like, it doesn't hurt to have that
Sure.
machine behind you. Because while there are guys like FV and Matt Cardona that can, you know, consistently like make the money and get over by themselves, having that machine behind you definitely does not hurt. Which is why it's so great that companies like TNA are stepping up and like AEW are here, because before there was not a lot, and there was not a lot of ways to make money. The thing about AEW coming around is that more people are making money in wrestling than ever before, and that's just great. I mean, that's great for everybody. That's great for the business. That's great for pro wrestling. You know what I mean? So yeah, just very, very grateful that because of AEW and TNA and just the internet in general and all the indies, there are so many indies now that you can make a living on this just by wrestling. Yeah.
Great answer. I love hearing that. Now, speaking of all that, you have some upcoming matches and coming. Like, we talked to Fuego a little bit about this, and a couple people are asking in the chat, what are some of your goals? Like all of us, like I do a word of the year and kind of like live by that throughout the year. What are your goals in 2025 in the wrestling business, and where do you want to take it from there?
Man, I don't know.
1 month at a time.
Yeah, it really is 1 month at a time, because to be honest, like I injured my knee at the beginning of November. And so for the last 2 months, I've honestly just been focusing on that. And it sucks because I still have a bunch of bookings coming up, and I'm trying to focus on those things. But at the same time, like I was still focusing on my knee, and I still am. Like my knee is still not necessarily 100%. So, like for a while it's kind of crazy how, you know, you get so wrapped up in everything going on around you, and then something like this happens, and then you just have like tunnel vision. Like before I hurt my knee, it's like I'm looking this way, I'm looking this way, I'm looking this way, and then my knee gets injured, and I'm just like, it's literally just that. So, you know, and I'm still kind of coming back from that, so I'm still focusing on that a little bit. Besides that, I mean, it's the same as it's always been. I say this, you know, anytime somebody asks, but my goal in wrestling has always just been to make a living and be happy, and, you know, be able to do this for a living, which I've been able to do for the last 4.5 years. And I'm super grateful for that.
Well,
so yeah.
Well, hopefully we might be able to go back and edit that part about the knee so that the Dab brothers don't hear that.
Yeah.
Those Dab guys. Let's talk a little bit about your upcoming match here. Again, you're tagging with Vlog Crew partner Fuego del Sol. You know, Fuego del Swole, by the way, we got to call him Fuego del Swole because dude's been eating his Wheaties, drinking his creatine,
nice. Yeah.
as well. And of course, you know, not to take away from you, but you know, the power in your stash, I'm sure, is gonna help you there. But you know, like we were talking about, I on the preview show I did with Marco on Tuesday, a lot of people don't want to sleep on the parental advisory guys. They're sneaky. They're young and they're rookies. And again, it's kind of interesting, full circle. Now you and Fuego are kind of the veterans, where, you know, just a few years ago, you guys were under the Jerry Lynn learning tree and the Kenny Omega and all that. But now you guys are kind of the veterans in this thing. But what are your thoughts going in? And an important question. We had a fan on Tuesday, Alan Tucker. I don't know if you're familiar with Alan Tucker. He's a huge Alan Angels fan, by the way, but he seems pretty confident that of the two, you're kind of the lead. You are the front man, that you're kind of the team captain, and that Fuego should just kind of follow your lead. Take us through your thoughts on this upcoming match, and is Fuego going to be able to follow your lead?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at this match graphic right here, and I'm in the back. I'm behind Fuego. And to a lot of people, that might not seem like a big deal, but
you're supposed to be the front man, not the back man.
Exactly. I was going to say I am the front man, so I'm not exactly sure. I don't know who makes these match graphics. If it's Marco, then Marco, you know, you better get to fixing this, because this is just not right. You know, I mean, you know, me and Fuego are cool. You know, what can I say? Me and Fuego are cool. As long as long as he listens to the front man, listens to what my strategy, what I would like to do, then I think we'll be okay. Now I have known Fuego for a while. He's a little bit rebellious, a little bit skittish, I would say. A little bit doesn't want to listen, doesn't really like authority too much. So I don't know. We'll see.
Definitely. I mean, you're the front man. Would you say he's the drummer or the bass player?
Man, I don't know. That's the thing. He does have a voice for music. I'll tell you what, he can be a backup singer.
Oh,
he can dance his cute little butt around the stage and do all that. But at the end of the day, I am the front man. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That's true. I mean, Griff was the hair,
right?
Fuego was the butt, and you were the front man. I mean, you were the voice, you were the lead. So
I'm the soul.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Now, is this going to be kind of a thing like Eddie Van Halen versus David Lee Roth, or where like Keith Richards and Mick Jagger? I mean, is this going to be? Are they going to be like battling for who's running things, or is this something where we're going to have some beautiful music?
I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of dating me there. I don't really know.
How about Justin Timberlake and JC Chavez?
Not so sure about the beef, but maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it all depends on if he wants to follow my lead. If we can get along, I'm sure. We've been friends for 5-6 years now. I'm sure we'll be able to get along.
Very cool. Well, SPD, do you think it's time?
I think it's time for the Fast Five.
The Fast Five, Roman numeral 5 this time.
Right.
But
no pun intended for 5.
No pun intended at all. But before you face tomorrow night against the Dab Brothers, you and Fuego teaming up at Pro Wrestling Adrenaline, make sure get your tickets. If not, you can watch on Title Match Network. I will be doing a watch along when Title Match activates the stream for Pro Wrestling Adrenaline. All kinds of cool stuff. We're going to see the tag team action. But before we get to that tonight, even with your knee, you have to face the Fast Five.
Okay.
All right, these are 5 questions. You just respond as quick as possible with the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay. There are no wrong answers. This is just what pops into your head at the time. But explanations are allowed and sometimes encouraged, because we've had some we've had some interesting answers. We'll tell you a little bit later about Murder Hawk. We found out what he likes to eat in Japan. All right. Anyways, here we go. First question is, Alan Angels, would you rather take a chop from Minoru Suzuki or Brooke Havoc?
We'll go with Suzuki on this one.
Okay, Suzuki, you'd rather take a chop from Suzuki. So you're saying that you fear Brooke Havoc.
Yeah, Brooke probably owes me one. It's fine.
Receipt.
Yeah.
Receipt.
If you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Damn, that's a hard one. Probably, I mean, my mind goes to flight, but I feel like that's just such an easy answer. I don't really.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
Probably teleportation. I think I hate traveling a lot, so we'll go with that.
Teleportation in the business would be tremendous. You could take bookings everywhere.
Yeah. True.
All right. Question number 3. What do you feel? How do you feel about daylight savings time?
It's whatever.
All right. Whatever's an acceptable answer. I'll take it.
It's fine with me. I don't really care either way.
Gotcha.
Because what's growing on your face, I had to pivot on this one. Who has the best stash in wrestling, you aside? Has had in history or present? Best mustache?
The Butcher.
I was gonna say he's top notch there.
Yeah, at one point he had the big handlebar boy. That was sick.
His stash is intimidating, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Possibly a Viking stash from Viking Revolution. Beard Bomb. Get yours now. Activate code DDL
There
when
you
you
go.
visit the website. Absolutely. And we'll go ahead and we'll go for the chat for this last one. The chat always comes up with good questions.
Okay.
Courtney says, do you have a favorite memory with Brody Lee?
Favorite memory with Brody Lee? Probably either the BT skit with Sue, where she threw the papers, or there's one that nobody ever really talks about a lot, but we were all in the bathroom and somebody wrote something like Brody sucks on the mirror or something like that. I don't know. All I remember is Brody was getting in all of our faces and none of us could keep a straight face the whole time. So yeah.
I mean, it's got to be impossible to not break with those especially like Griff Grifferson. Who the fuck is Griff Grifferson? You know, like that's not Jungle Boy. All of this, and I would get a kick out of like Anna Jay trying to keep a straight face. She's always like this.
She was the worst at breaking.
And forget John Silver. John Silver would turn his laughter into crying though. He would kind of you know, and you and Preston kind of had the advantage of having the mask, but I could tell there were times where you guys were
for sure
breaking.
It was tough.
It made it that much better with the breaking. Like SNL, the skit is so much more funny when SNL characters or people like break on there. So.
Gives it that.
It's like real. Yeah.
Well, Alan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been tremendous. Once again, I apologize about the jelly beans. Jamie has been fired. I think Jamie also does the graphics for PWA, so he's double fired. We're going to get rid of that jackass. Let's leave the floor here. Do you have a message for the parental advisory clowns for tomorrow night? And do you have a message for Fuego? Do you have a message for the PWA fans and family for the Dynamite Download Galaxy? And any other message that you want to get out there?
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great match. Parental advisory, listen, I know I said everything I said about me and Fuego, maybe not getting along. I know you're probably going to look into that, probably going to try and take advantage of that. You don't have to. There's no point because me and Fuego, thicker than thieves. 2 peas in a pod, me and Fuego. So it's not going to happen. And we're going to walk away with the dub. So hope everybody shows up. Hope everybody likes the match. Hope everybody likes the show because it's going to be a good one.
Super excited. Possible, as PWA is just now starting out, already catching fire, already has a deal with Title Match Network, got some marquee names like Fuego and Alan Angels. The Frontman is going to be there. I mean, that in itself is worth the price of admission. Wow. How where else can you get front row tickets to the Frontman in action? I mean, you could be right there.
Yeah.
You might even catch a little bit of sweat coming your way. I mean, there are people that pay thousands of dollars just to get that privilege. Yes, could we possibly see down the line when PWA continues to grow, could we see PWA tag team champions, Fuego and Alan, the Frontman, and the Booty Shaker?
So, yeah, it's got a good ring to it. Alan Angels, Fuego del Sol, tag champs. Love it.
Awesome.
I like it.
Let's make it happen. By the way, make sure you follow Alan V Angels on X, Instagram, and check out the YouTube channel. Might be firing up that vlog again very soon. The Alan Angels.
Oh my God.
You gotta get definitely some cool things going on there. We'll find out whose hair was on that phone. Was it Speedball Mike Bailey's hair? Was it somebody else's? We'll have to find out. But make sure you check it out. Get your tickets. Check it out on Title Match if you can't get there yourselves. Make sure you're following. And, of course, A's in the chat. We have a super fan named Sammy Guava. No, Sammy Guevara. Yeah, there's a Sammy Guevara in the chat saying A's in the chat. Yes, A's in the chat for Alan Angels. Alan, it's been so awesome having you here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And again, next time, you're going to get all of the red jelly beans.